And now, you're tuned into RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's Reveler Sports.
Hey everybody, welcome back to your RBLR Rays show. I'm Ben, with me is Zach. Good morning, Zach. How's it going?
Good morning, Ben. It is going well over here. It is a little bit of a warm South Carolina weekend. Might spend some time at the pool this weekend with, the 4th coming up. I will be working on the 4th, so I might try to celebrate and do some pool stuff before then. But otherwise, everything's going well. How about you?
Yeah, pretty good. I'm going to be going to the Rays game on the 4th, so I'm excited about
Nice.
that. I think they're playing the Braves or the Phillies. I don't know.
The Phillies, yeah.
It's some NL East team, so should be fun. Yeah, but anyways, this was a pretty fun week. I know they kind of went 500, but also better because they split Kansas City. They finished that up on Sunday. Monday they were off, which was nice. Finally got an off day, and then won in Arizona, and then they took the first one in Seattle too. So things are going pretty well, all things considered, especially with pretty much everybody except for the Braves, and I think the Reds are like those are the only two teams that aren't treading water right now. Everybody else is playing basically 500 ball. And the Rays have picked up like a game and a half over the Orioles over the past couple of days. So good stuff.
Yeah, when you look at the beginning of the month, the Orioles were 4 games back. Now they're 6.5 games back. And I gotta imagine as an Orioles fan, that's so frustrating because they're still playing well for the most part. But to be continuing to have like one of your best seasons ever, and you're still 6.5 games back and gaining no significant ground over time, it's got to be frustrating. But we will continue to frustrate everyone in the AL East. We're still 10 games up on the Blue Jays. I think we're 10 up on the Yankees, 11 up on the Blue Jays. The division, we're in a really good place in the division, and just playing consistent baseball, which is, even though it's not as consistently amazing as it was in the beginning of the season, being consistently above 500, consistently keeping the other teams at arm's length, it does wonders for the, setting in stone, like this is what it's going to be all season long. You can try to make a run here and there, but we're going to bounce back. We're going to continue to lead, and that's just what you're going to have to deal with the whole season long.
Yeah, you just have to deal with it. And you also have to deal with us asking again to make sure you like, subscribe, and share. Sharing is probably the most important thing you can do. If you just, share this with one person, and they share it with one person, next thing you know, we've got like George Clooney listening to us. So just do what you got to do. But the thing that you got to do is share. That one helps us the most. So thank you everybody for doing that right now before we continue listening. We'll give you like 4 seconds before we get started. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so yeah, the Rays had a good week. A couple big, I guess not big headlines, but the news this week is out of last night. Shane McClanahan, his back tightened up a little bit again. Doesn't seem too concerning. It looks mostly just precautionary. We'll see, what happens with that within the next couple days, I'm sure. Brandon Lau close to returning. Oh, Randy and Yandy are all-stars. That's that's pretty significant. Deal. That's the first time we've had a couple all-stars winning a fan vote in a while. So good stuff. Am I missing anything else with like big news?
No, I mean that's the injuries, positive and negative, are probably the biggest news right now.
Yeah.
And then the All-Star, being the first time we've had 2 Rays position players make the All-Star starters since Longoria and Crawford. It's a big deal. It's exciting. It's great to see these players that have been playing at such a high level for so long now finally starting to get that recognition that they deserve and getting the accolades that should follow their level of play. Awards aren't everything, but I feel like when you play consistently at a high level like that, it's got to feel good to finally get recognized. So good for them. Really excited to see it. Hopefully we'll see maybe Shane show up at the All-Star game as well. I think the injury probably will preclude him from starting in the All-Star game, which might be for the best anyway. But hopefully he'll still get a nod. So at least he gets that another, tick on his Baseball Reference page. But I think, having 2 Ray starters is awesome for our representation there.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it's the best team in baseball. I feel like they should have a little bit more, but the Rays are always, the team that's greater than the sum of their parts, or whatever the saying is. I don't know. So yeah, it is what it is. I was kind of hoping that Wander should be in it. because he's like second
Yeah.
in baseball in every kind of war imaginable, or maybe third now. I know Marcus
He
Simeon and Seager
so
have been pretty good.
Well, he's third in WAR. He's third in Fangraphs WAR in all of baseball. Second in Fangraphs WAR in the AL, only to Shohei, which is kind of not fair because Shohei is like 2 players. It's ridiculous. But he's still like second in WAR, and I know he's had some weird news, but he's still performing at a really high level. Like, and he has continued to do that. It's not like he fell off. Like, he's still batting around 290. He's still got 9 home runs. He's got almost 40 RBIs, 26 stolen bases, which is insane. Or is that right? Is that number right? I think it is. He has a lot of stolen
I know
bases.
it's over 20, yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I can't remember if it's 26 or if it's less than that, but he's got a lot of stolen bases. He is doing everything you can ask for a player defensively. He's been phenomenal in the field. I think it's ridiculous that he did not make the second round of voting, especially like, I mean, Seager is great, but like, he's an offensive shortstop. Like, he's fine defensively, but he's not winning a Gold Glove. And Bichette is he's a loose cannon over there. You never know what you're going to get, although he's great offensively. Wander is the complete package. And the fact that he was not even in the running for the starter vote, I think is ridiculous. It's a blight. When you look at the end of the season and you see that he leads all, American League and probably all MLB shortstops in WAR, you're going to say, how did this guy not get an all-star nod if he led all shortstops in WAR? And then you'll say, well, maybe he wasn't doing that well in the first half. And then you say, oh wait, he was still leading all American League shortstops in WAR before the all-star break, and he still didn't get a nod. But whatever. I guess people just don't like the most overall statistic for a player's performance that much. But I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy.
Yeah, I definitely think fan voting is
Abolish
flawed, to put it nicely. It's just not it's not good. But if that's what the fans want to see, like they don't want to see the best players, that's on them, I guess. Like I'm not going to Seattle. So it doesn't, like, I'm gonna watch the game on TV. I really don't care much about watching the All-Star game. I just like the recognition for the players on our team. So it doesn't really bother me too much because I think some fans are just gonna vote for their own players. So I guess like I think the best way to maybe campaign for all-star votes, if we want to like do that as Rays fans for like our players, we have to go after the swing voters. And I don't really know who the swing voters would be in baseball because you're not going to pry Yankees fans from their team. You're not going to pry Red Sox fans. Blue Jays fans, it's just Canada against the world. So you're not going to. I feel like Baltimore, there could be some kind of there could be some kind of relationship there. Maybe I'm not sure. Maybe Maryland is the swing place.
Position to position too. Like I think if we were to form an alliance, we'll say we'll vote for Adley for catcher and you vote for Wander for shortstop, because that means Jorge Mateo has been fine. He had a really good start of the year and he kind of fell off. But I think we could make an alliance there. I think we could figure something out. I'll put a pin in that for next year.
Yeah, definitely. We'll get that grassroots stuff started now. But anyways, on to Arizona, I guess. Well, do we have anything about Kansas City? I mean, I feel like that was kind of just get the series over with. I mean, Glasnow was great in the final game there, so that was cool.
Yeah, Glasnow was great. I'll talk about him more later. Just a spoiler alert. But yes, Glasnow was fantastic. Just good to get out of there with a split. 4-game series are hard. 4-game series on the road on the West Coast are really hard. Getting out of there with the split is a win. That's about all.
Well, they played that at home, right?
You're right. That was at home. Wait, was it? And maybe I'm losing my mind. What was it?
I went to one of the.
That's right. It was at home. Yeah, never mind. It's just 4 games. I'm gonna redact my statement and say 4-game series are hard.
Yeah, you're rarely ever gonna sweep those. But moving on to Arizona after the off day, they didn't do so great in the first game, but they got out with a win, and that's all that really matters. So any takeaways from that series in Arizona?
Winning a series against another playoff team, another team that you're going to expect to see in the postseason. There's all kinds of comments during the series about how these two teams coming into the league at the same time, you're seeing them perform really well this season. Wouldn't it be cool to see them in the World Series? It would be really cool. That'd be really fun. But just another example of the Rays continuing to perform well against high levels of competition. I think, if you wanted to make the argument that we're seeing some, like when you look at, people that are speaking negatively on the Rays, if you want to make the argument that we sometimes see them playing down to their competition and up to their competition, you could make that argument. I don't know that it's necessarily true, but when you see the way they play against the Royals and then they come out and win a series against the Diamondbacks and are now, looking really good in their current series that they're playing against the Mariners, who are not a great team, but are considered an upper, third team and probably upper half, I guess, not even upper third team in the MLB right now. You could make that argument. But I would much rather than play well against the high level of competition anyway, because it just shows that when you play the teams that you're going to be playing in the postseason, which is the ultimate goal, they're performing at a high level. And that's all you can ask for in a long season where you're going to lose series and you're going to lose games. Getting those good performances in those games against high quality teams is just good to see.
Definitely, especially on the road too, because I know there
Yeah.
have been some questions about their performance on the road. But against 500 teams or 500 or better teams, the Rays have been amazing. They are just one of 6 teams that has a winning record against winning teams.
Mm-hmm.
And they have, I'm pretty sure, the best winning percentage. I'm not going to do this math right now in my head because that's too much. But what more can you ask for? Like, as long as you're going like at least 500 on the road, because statistically, like, home teams win like 54 to 56% of their games. So if you're a road team and you're beating that like 44 to 45% chance of winning the game, like, you're already succeeding. And then you go home and win like, I don't know, 2/3 of your home games. That's like a 95, 96 win team. Like, that's all you really have to do. Like, you don't have to be that great on the road as long as you're going at least 500. Obviously, you want to do better, and try not to get swept on the road, because if you get swept on the road, if you go winless on the road, you're going to get knocked out of the playoffs pretty easily. So as long as you can steal one game, take care of your home games, that's the recipe for success, and the Rays have shown they can do that. So yeah, this was just kind of an encouraging series for me in terms of like how they can handle being on the road, because you're already at a deficit when you start those games. So it's nice that they're able to be successful even against great teams like Arizona.
Well, when you look at the second game of that series as well, you also see a team that can overcome adversity in a one game sample size, where you're going into the very end of the game, you're down 2 runs, you haven't had any offensive momentum all night, and you still find a way to go out there and score 3 runs and come away with a win. And how many teams in baseball would you going into those last 2 innings of the game? Would you be willing to say, with down 2 and you've had no offensive momentum, you could honestly say, yeah, we still have a chance? Like, there's most teams, when you just don't have any offensive momentum on a given night and you go into the latter innings in the game, you're getting into their closer territory. You just kind of pack it in. You say, well, I guess that's the end of that. We're gonna, maybe we'll scratch 1 run across, and then that'll be that. But the Rays have consistently shown that no matter what the score is and no matter what inning it is, the game is not over until it is over. And that is all you can ask from a team. And that's what is going to separate them when you go to the postseason, is because they can win on the road when they need to, and they're never out of a baseball game. And the fact that you can say they are never out of a baseball game is what is going to set them apart in the postseason, and what's going to, I think, take them all the way.
Absolutely. And it really helps when you have a manager like the Diamondbacks do, where you're facing them and they leave their closer in
Yeah.
too long because he's the closer and he's supposed to close games. Like, you gotta play matchups sometimes. You can't just, I mean, you can do it. You're not going to win as many games, and you give yourself a better chance to win if if you can swallow your pride and, pull out the pitcher that's struggling. But, we'll take that. And then they decided to punt in that third game after the Rays jumped out to a nice lead. And then Yandy kind of cruised, got his ground balls like he always does. And that was, yeah, pretty nice wrap up to that series there. So yeah, really liked what they did over in Arizona.
Yeah, Yanni going out there and having a nice bounce back start is just a perfect example of that's what he is. He's gonna have he's gonna have one start that's really bad, and then one start after that's really good. And his next start is probably gonna be like whatever. He's probably gonna give up like 2 or 3 runs over 6, and it'll be whatever. And he'll put us give us the opportunity to win the game. And that's all you can ask from him as a pitcher. And he's doing exactly what he needs to do to support this team at the at this juncture in the season, which is he's being an innings eater. I don't know if you follow Foolish Baseball, but he just put out a video on innings eaters. Yanni fits that mold like to a T. That's exactly what he does. He goes out there, he eats innings, keeps the team in the chance to win the game 90% of the time. That's all you can ask for. It's exactly what he does, and that's why he's, even though like when you look at the end of the season, his WAR is not going to be that high, his statistics are not going to be that high. You, from a kind of statistical perspective, you won't be able to see how valuable his performance is to the team, but it is very valuable.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure I'd like the two WAR metrics we have. I think they both use FIP to calculate it, and Yanni kind of breaks FIP, like he does
Yeah.
some weird things with his pitch shape. So I don't think FIP is that good anymore. I don't know. Well, actually, I do kind of know a couple other things that we could use, but they're not really popular, so nobody's really going to care. But yeah, I don't think FIP is that good of a stat anymore, and I think we're kind of seeing that get exposed, just with the way that teams are. I mean, they've been doing it for a while, but it's a lot more prevalent than ever where they're looking for pitchers who have a history of overperforming their expected metrics and like other types of advanced stats. So, yeah, it's really interesting what he does, and he's a nice innings eater, like you said. I don't really think he has a role on a postseason roster, and I do have a postseason pitching staff thing I can share later. I might share my screen for that,
Ooh.
but he's yeah, I mean, he's gonna help keep the higher performing arms healthy by eating innings, and that's kind of what you want. And it's nice that he's able to just go out there and go like 4 or 5, maybe 6 innings every couple days and give up a couple runs and pretty much only allow walks and ground balls. Like that's really the only way you're gonna get on base against him. So as long as his command is good, he's solid and he's fine for a number 5 starter for sure.
If the Rays go on to win the World Series this year, and you look down the players that are a part of this team this year that are going to get a World Series ring that did not make the postseason roster, you'd be hard pressed to find a player that's going to end up being more valuable to this team than a guy like Yandy Chirinos, who is not going to. You're right; he's not going to be on the postseason roster. Most likely, he's going to probably tap out towards the middle to end of September. We're not going to see him much more after that. But the innings that he's provided and the ability to keep the team in games all throughout the season, if we win a World Series, he will have earned his share of that World Series, even if he's not on the postseason roster.
Yeah, definitely. And if you want to, no, that's not going to work. Just go ahead and head over to shop.rblrsports.com. You can buy a shirt. Promo code FLAPPY, FLAPPY. You get 10% off of everything. We've got team inspired merchandise for the Rays, the Bucks, the Lightning, the Rowdies, all that good stuff. Another Rowdies watch party coming up in a couple weeks, so we'll keep posted on that. I'm going to try to go. It's after a Rays game, so I'm going to have to. I mean, I'll be in St. Pete, but I know the watch party's in Ybor, I believe, so I'll have to speed and run every traffic light and all that stuff to get there. But
As you should.
I'll see if I can make it out. But yeah, anyways, shop.rblrsports.com. Buy a shirt.
Buy a shirt. Earn your share of our fandom by buying a shirt.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say.
That's where we're going.
Yeah, so game 1 last night in Seattle, Shane McClanahan goes a couple innings. His stuff looked much better. Command was off, but his back kind of acted up again, so we'll see where that goes. He thinks he's maybe going to miss a start, and he's pretty optimistic, like, yeah, this is a good time to do it if I'm going to have to miss a start because of the All-Star break. So, yeah, maybe he misses 1, maybe 2 starts, and he should be back. It doesn't look like anything serious, and Twitter is, like, down for me right now, so I can't, like, see if there's any updates, but, yeah, it is what it is. It seems like he's okay, but the Rays ended up battling back, and they won pretty big. I know Seattle punted in like halfway through the 8th inning, but it was still pretty cool to put up 15 runs.
Yeah, and like I mean, it was kind of humorous that we had a game like this at the major league level, and almost the same thing is going on done in AAA, different innings in which it was happening. But in AAA, the Bulls scored I think 14 or 15 runs, and in the major league level, scored 14 and 15 runs. Just kind of a funny parallel there. But yeah, I mean, if Shane is going to miss some time, now's the time because he can probably take like 2 weeks off and only miss like one start maybe, like, so it kind of works out. Like, it's really not that big of a deal. I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of reshuffle the rotation a little bit after the All-Star break anyway, and just figure out how they want to reslot things if Shane's going to miss a little bit of time. but I think it's not anything big. I would rather him miss a start and just rest and let it, whatever this is, like, relax it out. I love that Shane wants to be out there and doesn't want to miss games and wants to be pitching. It's, as a fan, it's cool to see a player who cares that much. And he was obviously very frustrated. You could tell he was frustrated talking about it. He doesn't want to miss any time. That's the kind of guy you want as your ace, the guy who wants to be out there, wants the ball every time that he can get it. But I think he probably needs a break. He was probably going to have some kind of break at some time this season anyway. So just get it out of the way. Take 2 weeks off. Go, sit in a hot tub for a little bit, relax those back muscles, and come back stronger.
Yeah, like you said, this is the time for him to do it. If there's ever a time, which ideally probably not, but it's workload management essentially. Like that's another way to look at it. So no major concerns. I know we have a couple injury things to talk about, so maybe that would be a good time to just throw that in here right now because we're already talking about Shane.
Sure.
But Brandon Lowe, he's up in Durham right now. He's going to play allegedly today and tomorrow, and then so Saturday, Sunday, off day Monday for most teams in the majors and in the minors, except for like the complex and Dominican Summer League teams. Mm-hmm. So Brandon Lowe could rejoin the major league team as early as Tuesday, which I think would be the 4th of July, which is against the Phillies. Yeah, cool. So I'm going to be at that game. Maybe I'll see him come back. But yeah, Brandon Lowe's working his way back. He's 100% feeling great. There's no lingering issues, which is awesome. Andrew Kittredge is really close to starting his like actual game action in the complex league, which is great. And Fleming just playing catch. It seems like he probably won't need Tommy John surgery, but I know that was kind of a bit of a stretch to begin with. He just had some soreness. I think that's it for injuries. Taylor Walls was a little dinged up, but he's fine now.
What's cool? Is Colby White still down in the complex league? Is that where he's at?
Oh yeah, he hasn't pitched in like 3 weeks, so
yeah, I don't know what happened there.
Probably not good. Yeah, I mean he looked great and felt great after his outing on like the like June 13th or 14th, I want to say, and then he hasn't pitched since. So I feel like if it was anything really bad or really good, like any really bad or really good news, we would know by now. So it's maybe just a wait and see kind of thing. Highly unlikely he re-tore anything or anything like that. So it's maybe just a maintenance thing. Who knows? But his stuff was like looking back to normal, which is good. But he's also been out for 3 weeks now. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Oh, Curtis Mead, he's back, but I know that's like minor league news. He's very back. He had I think a triple and a double last night with
home run shot of the cycle.
Yeah. So looking good. Maybe he'll be up eventually. I mean, there's really no room for him or anybody at this point, but maybe he'll be up. We'll see.
Yeah, we're kind of in a weird spot where there's a couple guys at Durham that are all performing really well, and it's like don't really have anywhere to put them. Like kind of I don't really know how that's gonna turn out. That's probably a topic at some point. Is we got all these guys in Durham that are performing really well, and we don't really have anywhere to put them at the major league level, and I don't know what that's gonna result in going forward. But it'll be interesting to see how the Rays handle that.
For sure. And the best way to sort through a log jam or to fix a log jam is to wait until it sorts itself out. So if we just keep waiting a little bit longer, something's going to happen where there is going to be a spot, or the player that was hot was actually just hot and it wasn't like real and they'll fall off.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a segue into our listener topic this week with Blake Hunt. He is one of the guys in AAA. I know it happened pretty quickly, but yeah, Renee Pinto went down for a little bit. He's still on the IL, I think, in the minor leagues. I think he is possibly starting rehab games soon in the complex league. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't heard too much back about him.
I haven't either.
But Blake Hunt was called up to AAA Durham to fill in from Montgomery, and he has been really good. He's got 6 home runs in 11 games after hitting 6 home runs in 37 games in AA, where he had a 114 WRC plus in AA this year. Like he was looking pretty good. He's got a 175 WRC plus now in AAA, just hitting the cover off the ball and doing a ton of damage. Yeah, he's looking pretty good right now. He's slugging like 850 something. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, it's wild to see. Now, maybe I'm wrong about this, but I think I have heard when you talk about like the between double A and triple A that double A is like a pitcher's
Yeah.
level, and then when you get to triple A, it's more of a hitter's level. So I don't know if that's affecting like his performance anyway, where he was going from an environment where it's very pitching heavy and he was seeing some like tough stuff, and he's cutting up to triple A and he's seeing some softer stuff, and he's just performing at a high level against that stuff. Either way, way overperforming what I would have expected. When I saw him coming up to AAA, I was like, well, I hope that he doesn't get knocked around too much and he still, retains some of his good form that he's had, and he's overperformed. So that's been awesome to see.
Yeah, he really has been performing well. I know he's got a cannon of an arm, really good pop time. Framing it's not very good. I don't know. It probably is close to like Mejia level framing, which isn't terrible, but it's not good. But
Hmm.
the arm is really strong, so he kind of fits like the modern game with the rule changes we've had. So our
Right.
listener, I guess, question kind of was, when could we and when should we see Blake Hunt at the major league level?
I mean, the thing that sort of will bear the to watch is how does Blake Hunt continue to perform, because they're not going to make a decision based off of what 11 games of sample size, like
Yeah.
like a move to move Mejia up or move Mejia down and bring Hunt up. That's not going to be made on an 11 game sample size at all. Mejia has still been a solid contributor at the major league level. He's not been amazing. Bethencourt has like very obviously earned the lion's share of the playing time, and he has earned it. I don't think there's any debate about that anymore. If there ever was any like really strong debate, I feel like before, even in the preseason, we were both kind of like, yeah, Bethencourt is the starter, and
Yeah.
not really a whole lot of debate there. Um, and Mejia is fine, but if Blake Hood continues to play, at this kind of level or even below this level, if he falls back to earth a little bit, um, it could be interesting to see if they make a move. I don't know if Mejia has any options left though, and I don't know the answer to that
Okay.
question off the top of my head. If he doesn't have any options, I find it hard to believe they just get rid of Mejia. I just kind of don't think that that's something they're going to do. If he has options, I guess maybe they could give him a shot, but I don't know. It's kind of a weird situation because Mejia has been a part of the major league roster for so long now. To send him back down is kind of weird. I don't know what they would have him work on if they send him back down. He kind of is
Right.
what he is. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I don't know how much more Mejia is going to develop. I mean, he's young, but like I kind of feel like Mejia is what he is, sort of. Um, I don't know. And I mean, and Hunt is probably going to get more starting time if he stays in Durham. So it kind of makes more sense for him to stay down there anyway, or to go back to Double A, whichever one. So I don't. It would, unless Mejia like really falls off a cliff and they feel like they want to make a move. I don't know that it's going to be anytime soon. But it is interesting to see that you kind of if you just look at it without any context and you see the way Mejia has performed this so far in the season and the way that Hunt is performing, I can kind of see how some people might say, well, let's just make a little switch there. But I don't know if it makes as much sense in reality when you look at the other factors.
No, and I just looked it up. Mejia he's in his final option year, so he could
Hmm.
be optioned if they really wanted to, but
Yeah,
team chemistry is so important.
yeah,
Research from like 2014 says that it's like worth a swing of about 3 wins above replacement in either direction. So like you're not gonna take away from that just to put in a catcher who's got 44 plate appearances
yeah,
in AAA. Like that's not who doesn't really have a track record of being a good offensive catcher. Like he's been fine
yeah.
for his career offensively. Um, Defensively, he's maybe a bit stronger, but he's fairly well rounded. But he's not a 175 WRC plus hitter. He's not going to maintain a 37.5% home run to fly ball rate.
No,
Um, he's not going to maintain his 2.3% walk rate in these 44 plate appearances. So it's great that he's performing well. But like I kind of said I mean, there's really not much of a logjam at catcher. I know it might feel that way, but it's really like Bethencourt is like uh I'd say a top 10 catcher overall in
yeah.
the game. Mejia is a fine backup, and then like Pinto is pretty close, and then there's like a gap, and then there's Blake Hunt. So it's going to take more than just a couple weeks of playing well for him to kind of jump up. He's not even on the 40-man roster, so it would take a move
Right.
for that to happen, and that's a hassle. That's like a big thing.
Unlikely.
I don't think Blake Hunt sees the majors this year. I don't think that's like crazy to say that. I think he could possibly see it next year. They recently moved their AA catcher Roberto Alvarez to the development list, which that could mean so many different things. So I'm not going to like speculate too much. But they did clear a space for him for Blake Hunt to go back to AA at some point and be like the guy and not just share time with Alvarez. So that's kind of significant there, but I don't really think Blake Hunt will, unless something goes really, really wrong for the team or really, really right for him, he's not going to touch the majors this year. And that's totally fine. He's probably not ready anyways.
No.
So yeah, I think we'll see him at some point though. I'm interested, but we gotta pump the brakes here. He's not the next face of the franchise.
No, and I think the other angle that is mildly interesting here is you see there's a couple of guys in Durham that are playing really well, and we're getting up towards the trade deadline. It would be interesting to see if the Rays would be interested in moving some of their assets that are probably not like high reward guys, but are kind of playing up towards their ceiling right now. And maybe they get some value out of that in a trade somewhere. I think there's a chance that something like that happens with some of these guys that are like kind of really over their skis a little bit on the minor league level. It could be interesting to see how the Rays handle that to, because obviously when the season is over, it's gonna be kind of a bloodbath when you look at our roster crunch, because we've got so many guys that are going to be eligible for word. I'm losing my what's the
Rule 5.
Yeah, the Rule 5 draft. So that's gonna be interesting to see how they handle all of that. So I don't know if maybe they get a head start on some of that kind of stuff and start clearing some space at this trade deadline, but who knows.
Yeah, I think Aliko Williams, who they traded for Bob Steve, I think he was going to be Rule 5 eligible, so he was kind of like the first domino to fall in that way. And there will be more, because you don't want to lose these guys for nothing. So I'm sure they'll package a couple, get some like lottery ticket, rookie ball guy, relief pitcher. I don't know. Keep churning through it. Don't lose anybody for nothing unless you absolutely have to. And keep it going. I mean, they're like Aranda, he's been really good. But he's on the 40 man, so I guess it doesn't really matter. Manzardo will need to be added to the 40 man, I believe, this winter. So something's going to happen there. I would imagine they're going to add Blake Hunt just because he's kind of like the next catcher that's like considered a good prospect below him would probably be like Dominic Keegan, and he's still like high A, I think now. So there's a bit of a time gap after Hunt, so I think they would add him just to be safe, so you don't have to go out and sign like a journeyman catcher. But yeah, it should be interesting. That's definitely a topic for we could probably do it in the next, maybe, I mean, more so in the off season, but maybe next week we can talk about like the Rays minor league trade chips. That might be pretty good.
Yeah, that might be a good thing to look into, because I think we're gonna start to see, even if it's not gonna happen, you're gonna start seeing the trade, the trade simulation stuff is going to start coming in hot and heavy here in the next like 2 or 3 weeks. You're going to see a lot of names that are going to get thrown around from the Rays, and it's going to be a lot of nonsense. And they're probably going to trade for another bolt guy and maybe a middle reliever, and that's probably going to be it. I would be shocked out of my socks if they do anything. This is like bursting the bubble of some Rays fans. I just don't see it. I just don't see it. There's going to be so few teams that have good assets that are actually going to be sellers, that are going to be, it could be worthwhile to make a trade with. Like, it's just not going to happen. Like, unless the Padres just decide to go nuclear and blow their whole team up, there's not a whole lot of teams out there that are going to have high value assets that are going to be on the trading block this trade deadline. It's going to be kind of a boring trade deadline, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it'll just kind of be like Rule 5, 40 man maintenance stuff. Just send a package like 2 of them for a whatever, maybe a major league relief pitcher who was struggling this year. I don't know. I think it'll just be business as usual. So, which is nice. Like I like to be in that position where we don't have to make some crazy move and like bet everything on one player. So yeah, good stuff. But there are some guys from this week who played really well that I would bet money on to continue to play well. That was another. I'm 0 for 2 today on these segues, but I'm just going to say it. Josh Lowe was fantastic this week. He was my bat of the week. 195 WRC plus led the team, tied for second in FWAR. but he did have a 1.0 win probability added, so he was worth 100% of a win this week. The next closest on the team was Luke Rayleigh at 0.47, so he was worth almost half of a win by
Wow.
win percentage added. Josh Lowe, fantastic week. Yeah, he's done a nice job kind of readjusting and taking what pitchers are giving him. He's getting pitched away now a lot, and we saw it last night and a little bit in Arizona where he's gone back to like his rookie season approach where he just kind of slaps the ball the other way. And eventually, if he does that a couple more times, they're going to start pitching him in again, and then he'll pull those for extra base hits because he's definitely a power threat. And then they'll start pitching him away, and then he'll hit those. So it'll just be a cycle where he keeps getting on base and causing problems and driving runs in. And yeah, he's been great this year, and he was exceptional this week. So he was my bat of the week.
I think the difference in Josh Lowe this year and Josh Lowe last year is Josh Lowe this year is capable of making that adjustment during in season without a trip down to the minors and coming back. He's able to be aware of what's happening, make an adjustment, perform well with that adjustment, and then continue to perform that way. And then we'll be able to revert back to when they start, you try to bust it back inside, he'll keep driving the ball. And it's really good to see his continued development. It's one of, I think, it's probably the most surprising, it's one of the more surprising developments this year is how well he's played. But one of the things that has been the most fun about this year is seeing a guy that we like. Everybody, I think, wanted this guy to to hit and to perform well, and he's doing it. And it's just really fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. Did we have the same bat of the week, or
We did not, although you did mention
okay?
him in your discussion
Yeah.
of your bat of the week, and that is the person who was in second in all of those metrics that Josh Lowe was first in, and that's Nuke Reiki, who is just like defied all logic when you look at his career path to the beginning of the season. There is no one who would have said that this guy is leading the team in WRC plus. Like, just think about that. Like right now, at this very, very moment, if you look at the leaderboards, you will see a bunch of like name brand guys like Shohei Otani, Mookie Betts, like these top of the line guys, and then Luke Rayleigh is up there in front of Yandy Diaz and Randy Rosarena on the WRC Plus leaderboards for the season. It's wild. And this week he had the highest WAR on the team this week with a 0.3, and he was second on the team in WRC Plus, and like you were saying, win probability added. He's continued to just perform and every time you think, well, I guess now it's it. Now he's going to regress. He just does not regress, and it's just so fun to watch because there's this guy where he is kind of the like epitome of the Rays are going to find somebody. The Rays found somebody, and he's just lighting it up, and it gives me so much joy every time he like drives in 3 runs or hits a home run because he's just like defying logic, and it's just so much fun to watch.
Yeah, he's been fantastic in that, long side of a platoon, or yeah, long side of the platoon role and first base, kind of DH, corner
Mm-hmm.
outfield. If he's not having the season that he's having right now, we would have seen Jonathan Aranda by now,
Oh
which
yeah.
is crazy because Aranda's been like playing out of his mind in AAA, but Luke Rayleigh's been doing that at the majors, so you kind of
They
like
can't
there's
move
no
him.
reason to stop that. And him and Harold are pretty much the only ones who are blocking Aranda because you can't really put Aranda at third base. I know he's got some time. He's had some time at third in the minors. Can't put him there.
Please no.
If you put him at
Please
second,
no.
I I I don't know how many double plays the Rays would turn with him on the field playing second. That would be really interesting to watch. And then first base, really don't want him interacting that much with the ball. So first base,
That's
you
a really
interact with the
good
ball
way to
more than
put it.
second. But this is stuff we already know. Maybe his defense has gotten better,
Oh
but
man.
the fact that he's not up yet, maybe it hasn't. But also part of that is on Luke Rayleigh because he's been
Yeah.
really awesome. So and kind of Harold Ramirez, he's bounced back a bit.
Yeah.
He was pretty bad after he broke his hand. Or whatever happened to him. He was not the same until about like the beginning of May, and then he kind of turned it on. So
Yeah.
yeah, once one of them just drastically falls off or gets injured or gets traded, maybe we'll see a Ronda. But until then, we're pretty safe, or those guys are pretty safe at the majors, and it's fine for the team because the team is still playing well.
Yeah, and and you when you look at Aranda and Harold, you really can't have both of them on the team at the same time. You just can't. You could have Rayleigh and Aranda on this team at the same time because Rayleigh's a average to above. I think I would say he's probably above average defensively, maybe slightly above average. It's pretty close one way or the other. But like I think if I saw a lineup with Aranda at third base, I don't know if I could. I would have to turn the game off every time a ball gets hit to that side of the field. I just wouldn't be able to watch. But it'll be interesting to see if because I think Harold is kind of like with the way that Aranda is playing. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with Harold and if he continue and how he's been playing well recently. Like you said, since the beginning of May, he's continued to play well. So it'll be interesting to see as the season continues if Aranda keeps playing well. You might see, them trying to take a look at how Harold is playing and make an adjustment there, but that's not going to be anytime soon, I don't think.
No, and the secret to a log jam is to do nothing and wait for it to sort itself out. So we're just going to continue to do nothing, wait for something to happen, and then yeah, that's it. We just got to hurry up and wait.
Hurry up and
So
wait.
next, who was your pitcher or your arm of the week?
So my arm of the week is I've said this before a couple of times on the show, but we have a lot of great pitchers who do a lot of great things, but when the thing that I enjoy the most is just sitting down to watch a guy go out there, and even if it's only 5 innings, just watch the guy go out there and throw 12 strikeouts, throw 10, 11, 12 strikeouts. I love it. It's my favorite thing to watch in baseball is when someone just go out there and dominates pitchers with the strikeout. I know it's not always most efficient. It's not always the best. I just personally enjoy watching it. And, you know, Tyler Glasnow, you know, what can you say? 12 strikeouts, 5 innings, 1 run allowed. You would love for him to go 6. He's going to get there this season eventually, but there's nothing more entertaining than watching when that guy is on and when he is in full command of a game and he's just putting guys away with ease. There's nothing more entertaining to watch in baseball to me. So to see him getting back to that and getting back to that dominant self is brings me so much joy. I cannot wait to continue to see him round back into form and seeing more of those great strikeout performances.
Yeah, he really found his mechanics in his last start. Um, he looked like his old self, and he said he felt great. So, yeah, just want to see him keep it rolling. I think he's pitching today against the Mariners. I'm pretty sure,
I think
either
you're
today or
correct.
tomorrow.
I think you're
Um,
correct.
yeah, so I'm looking forward to tuning into that game. A lot of the West Coast games, it's hard because I'm asleep by the time they
Yeah.
start. So I'm honestly probably in bed by the time they're like wrapping up batting practice. So
Yeah.
it's just not a good situation for me.
Today's
But
a
anyways,
7:15 game, so maybe we can watch
okay,
that
yeah,
one.
I'll be
But
able to listen to that on the radio for sure.
yeah.
But my pitcher of the week, my arm of the week was Jake Diekman. Uh, it's kind of hard to give it to a reliever, but I wanted to make sure I jumped on this opportunity. In 2.2 innings pitched, he faced 9 batters total. So of the 9 batters he faced, he struck out 7 of them and he walked one, and then the other one was like a ground ball out. So he's been insane. Doesn't have a colon, doesn't matter. Just such a great player, such a great weapon in that bullpen. And I really wanted to pick him because of what I want to talk about with the bullpen for the month of June. Like June has been amazing for the Rays bullpen, and Diekman, Stevenson, Armstrong, those three, and the return of Pete Fairbanks, those guys have all been a really big part of why this
Hmm.
bullpen in June has been so successful. So I want to go ahead and I'm going to share my screen once I get my life together here.
Hmm.
Um, I'm going to keep stalling for now. So, yep, don't show these tips again. Share my screen, please. All right, I've got a spreadsheet called Bullpen Performance. All right. So, right now you're seeing for the month of June, the Rays led all of baseball in I'm going to let Eureka get our camera set up. There we go. Sorry, I guess I could have given you a little bit more time. Month of June, though, the Rays are first in all of baseball in earned run. Their bullpen is first in all of baseball in earned runs per total batter faced. It's much better than looking at ERA or FIP because it kind of weights it by workload as well. So the bullpen has been worked quite a bit in June, but they've been able to handle it because they added some quality arms. And yeah, they're looking good. They're right up there with the Braves. The Cubs, for some reason, have had a good bullpen. It's kind of weird. And then, of course, the Giants, Yankees, and Guardians they're
Hmm.
pretty solid. So that's great. Um, save and hold percentage is just the success rate of saves and holds. The Rays have been kind of middle of the pack with that this month, but they didn't have Fairbanks for a lot of it. So
Right.
here they are down here, like 19 through like 15, because it's like one number off. So like 19 through 15, middle of the pack, they're all pretty much the
Mhm.
same. Cubs didn't win too many games this month, so of course they're like when they had to win, they were fine. But and then last thing I want to look at here is weighted on base average
Mm.
against for the Rays bullpen, again leading the way. What more can you ask for with this bullpen? Like they've done an amazing job getting it back on track. It was really never in doubt for me, I guess, because like they made the acquisitions and they did what they had to do. The main struggles in May were related to Rasmussen going down and
Yep.
just the insane grueling schedule, and they've recovered from that. And now this bullpen is looking awesome. So yeah, just want to share that. I'll post a screenshot of the stuff on Twitter later for the month of
Nice.
June, but yeah, I'm just really happy with where the bullpen is progressed.
Yeah, and I mean, Jake Diekman is such a huge part of where the bullpen is at right now because he's just come in and been lights out since he got here. Honestly, he's been so good for us since he's showed up at Tropicana Field. And when you see people on Twitter, they're saying we need to trade for a high leverage reliever. We already did. Jake Diekman is that guy. He has been that guy since he's got here. He's been excellent. He's going to continue to be excellent. All of his numbers continue to point that way. Um, when you get him performing the way he's performing, and when you get Fairbanks back to speed, and Adam continuing to kind of round back in form, which we'll see, and then Kittredge is going to come back too. Who knows what kind of role he's going to play? But this bullpen is right back where it needs to be, and it's right back to being the bullpen we expect it to be, and the one that's going to be the supplementary piece we need to our starting pitching. It's going to take us all the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's back where they need to be. And I just wanted to show real quick in March and April, they were the sixth best bullpen in earned runs per total batter faced. They were pretty good in their save and hold rate as always that they've kind of been, and they were second in weighted on base average against. So like May was a hiccup. It
Yeah.
wasn't a great hiccup, but it was literally like you can see them down here, not very great. Um, Below 80% in the success rate, not what you
Mm,
want to see. And then they were down at the bottom in WOBA. But like if 2 months they've been elite, fantastic, and then 1 month they were bad, but then when you think about the context, they were just trying to tread water.
yeah.
It's pretty telling. So, I'm going to trust like the 2 months of a sample that we have to say that this is probably what our bullpen is going to be like going forward, especially when you add in Kittredge and maybe Colby White. We'll see where we are with that. But I mean, they're not going to be the best bullpen in the league, I don't think. I mean, maybe they could be by the end of the year, but they're also not going to be what we saw in May, and they're going to be closer to that elite level we saw in March, April, and June. So
And they don't need to
that's
be the
all.
best bullpen in the majors because they have a highly above average starting
Yeah.
pitching staff. They have a highly above average bullpen, even if it's not the best, and they have a highly above average offense. So all you need is a bullpen that is good and has good arms that can get outs when you need it to, because the rest of the team is all firing on all cylinders. So the bullpen has for so long kind of been the champion of this team, and now it's just taken us like a half step back, but the whole rest of the team took 2 steps forward. Although the starting pitching was probably just stay where it was. It's always good, but the offense took 2 steps forward from last year. So this team is. I think it's the best constructed team in baseball. It is. I think I said this last week too. When you look at some of these teams out there and you see the construction of their rosters, you can tell how much it makes a difference when you see a team constructed properly. Just I'm gonna keep saying it, but like because I think it's comical. When you look at the Yankees, they have like one true outfielder on their roster right now with Judge Hurt, Harrison Bader as their only true outfielder on their roster. That's insane to me. Like roster construction matters so much, and this team is constructed so well.
Yeah, depth is really important, and it's if you don't have, a roster that can play almost like 40. I mean, like you're not probably not gonna use the whole 40 man in a season, but you'll use like 30, 35 players.
Yeah,
I mean,
easily.
I guess more if you're considering pitchers, but well, maybe they do burn through about 40. I don't know. I don't know what the average is for that, but depth is important. the Rays have it. They've got quality depth, and now that they've kind of weathered that tough part of the schedule, they should be a bit on cruise control, especially early on in the second half. And the September schedule looks a little tough, but it gets easier. So yeah, if they have the best record in baseball with arguably one of the hardest schedules, it's going to be really interesting to see where we're at by the end of July, the end of August, and then eventually, of course, in September, October.
Yeah, and you think about also the players that are going to be coming back from injuries, starting to round into form with, hopefully Brandon Lau gets back and starts to round back into form, and you'll get his production back. You may get Rass's production back. Who knows? You may get Kitteridge's production back, and you factor all those things into the fact the schedule is easier. It's going to be interesting to see how that turns out for sure. I think it's going to turn into a lot of wins.
Yeah, absolutely. Any miscellaneous, anything where we need to talk about before we wrap this up here?
I don't think so. What do you think of the All-Star Game jerseys?
They're fine. I don't really have a strong preference. I mean, like I feel kind of bad, but like I just don't care about the All-Star game itself. Like I want it on the players' resumes so they can get their incentives and their bonuses and stuff that they get in their contract. But I don't think, like myself included, like every sports fan, I think a lot of sports fans just don't. They're not that smart. Like they don't really know anything. Like if we knew stuff, we'd be like working in like baseball operations or in like the front office. But like those people know stuff. Like why not
Yeah,
have them vote on things? So
crazy
I don't know.
concept.
I don't really care that much about the All-Star stuff. Basically, it's the jerseys are fine, whatever. I think last year's were not very good from what I remember. So
Not very good.
they should just let like the City Connect people do the any kind of jersey thing ever because they usually do pretty well with the City Connect jerseys.
Or I think they should just let them wear their own jerseys. I think it's much more
Yeah.
entertaining when you see players from like the different, because like just having them wear their logo, it's just not that entertaining. It was way better when they let them wear their own jerseys. I think they should let each player choose which of their team's jerseys is their favorite and let them wear that jersey. Like, could you imagine seeing, Randy and Yandy out there in the Devil Rays jerseys on All-Star weekend? And if Shane was the starter, having Shane starting in the Devil Rays jersey, all out there, that would be so much fun. I think it should let the players that make it, let there be a mismatch. Even let Yandy love the blues and Randy love the whites and Shane wear the Devil Ray, whatever. Like let the mismatch happen. Let that be a part of the fabric of it. Make it, visually interesting to watch. It's not going to bother anyone. Nobody's going to care. It's not football where where it's going to affect the way that you play on the field because you have two teams out there. It doesn't make any difference. Like it's just going to be more visually interesting.
That's true. I do like the home run derby. I don't really care about the All-Star game.
Yes,
The home
I
run
will watch the
derby,
home run derby.
just because if you've ever hit a home run in baseball, softball, t-ball, kickball, if you've ever hit a home run, hitting a home run is arguably the best feeling in the entire world. It feels so good. So like to watch guys just hit a bunch of home runs is really cool. Did they finalize the home run derby
I
lineups?
don't,
Because I really want to see Randy.
I
in it.
know.
I
I
know
would
he
love
wants
that. That
to.
would be so fun. Because if I, who else would be fun would be Jose Siri. I don't know that
Oh
he's big
yeah.
enough to do that. That would be fun as all get out. But Randy in the Derby would just be pure electricity. It would be so much fun to watch. Box office. I'll say it again. It would be so much fun to watch. I don't know. Twitter has been down for me all morning too, so I have no idea. Maybe they announced it. But no, I don't know.
Okay. Well, yeah, I hope he gets it, but
Yeah, me
I
too.
think they'd have to like adjust the timer for him because he's gonna cross his arms after every home run, so he might not have enough time to actually compete. So maybe they'd have to bend the rules a little bit for him. But yeah, I think that's really all the news and stuff we needed
Yeah.
to talk about. So
Yep, I think so.
okay, great. Well, if you made it this far, about 54, 55 minutes in, thank you so much for your support. You could do one last thing to help us out by liking, subscribing. You already do that, so you might as well just go on to step 3, which is share. Plug this, share this, spread the good word. Go door to door, knock on people's doors. Bring your laptop, go to somebody's house, knock on their door. When they open it, open up the laptop. RBLR Sports YouTube with this video playing right now.
Mhm.
And I'm going to send subliminal messages to them so that they do the same thing. And then we've got a bunch of people essentially trick-or-treating. Yep. Sure. Thank you. But yeah, thank you everybody, and go Rays.
Rays up.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.